Anyway,
Alright,
we're getting underway.
Yes.
Canyon ambush. Very odd map. You have some very large open area in the spawns to the north and the south, but in the center of the map, you have some very tight canyons. Plenty of clouds allowing for ambushes. It does take after its namesake pretty darn well.
We'll get started here with the Rydrs. The Solus Ordum, the first Pyramidion for the Rydr team, piloted by Hillerton. I believe Hillerton is actually the leader of the Rydrs, along with his officers. Also, our interview for this week, Geo on that ship. It's a Hades Artemis Pyramidion with Artemis and Flare on the sides. Also, we have the Lib GTK, piloted by Luosi. Got Mortar on the front with Carronade and Flare on the side. He hasn't changed that in a long time. Go ahead, Oracle.
And for the Musosaurs, we have Dusk's Light, a goldfish being piloted by Queso. It is a blender fish with a mine launcher on the port side and a flamethrower on the starboard. And aboard the Blender Boom, another goldfish being piloted by Grady. We have another Carronade with flamethrower on the port side and mine launcher on the starboard instead.
Getting into it here. The Rydr team has quite actively slipped down the far right side of the map to about D3 on the map grid itself. They're going to slip through the canyons here and then head straight towards the pipe entrance that goes right into Blue's spawn area. But Blue team, the Musosaurs, not sitting down on the job. They have played a lot more passively than the Rydr team, but they have moved ever so slightly.
Holy cow, I can't believe the Lib GTK got through there.
He had to squeeze.
Oh, Solus.
Nope. I saw the nose cone turn sharp, like, nope. Hillerton didn't make it.
No, not quite. They'll be fine. No worries.
Now this build is indicative to what we've seen the Rydr team do in the last few months here. When this team composition was put together, it was specifically put together in mind to take advantage of the fact that Hillerton will sit back just a little bit and play a major support role with organizing and with control over an engagement, whereas Luosi is very eager to get in there and finish off something quickly and brawl his brains out. He loves to brawl, absolutely loves to brawl. That's why he's stuck with a Metaminion for so long, at least from the information that we got from Geo. First engagement starting off here, Lib GTK and the Solus Ordum both opening up. Hades landing pretty consistently, but not doing too terribly much to that Blender Boom's balloon. They moonshine just a little bit to get under the arcs of the Solus Ordum. Good move on their part. So far, these goldfish hulls have held up relatively well to the damage out, but Dusk's Light, though, I may have spoke too soon. Their armor does take a few hits, but they hold. Solus Ordum loses their balloon. They are parachuting to do the best they can to keep a hold of their altitude, but it's just not happening. Blender Boom has amazing arcs on the Solus Ordum side.
Yep, they're just going to take the balloon down over and over. Solus Ordum does have Drogue Shoot, and it's turning its guns over to the Blender Boom. If they can get an Artemis arc on it, they could disable it, but the Artemis does not have a great vertical arc. Here we go. Liv GTK able to wrest its way away from the Dusk's Light. Hey, Gatling going down, armor down on the Blender Boom. Can they finish it off? Mortar coming down a little bit late, but the armor is still down. Blender Boom just barely holding on to life as Dusk's Light continues to pop the balloon of the Lib GTK. It was using Drogue Shoot to buy itself some time, but now it's in a bad position. However, with the Blender Boom gone, the Dusk's Light focusing on the Lib GTK, the Solus Ordum is left to play with the Blender Boom. Getting a little bit close here, but they want the ram. Quick kill, gonna go down. Dusk's Light still going on the Lib GTK, but the Lib GTK has managed to maneuver itself so that the Dusk's Light is having a little bit of trouble popping that balloon, and they are going to stay in the air.
Dusk's Light really doesn't have a great opportunity here against Lib GTK because Solus Ordum has pulled back since they just dealt with the other goldfish. Whoa, hey, Blender Boom spawns right in there. Hello, Blender Boom.
With the broadside facing the Lib GTK.
Oh, dear.
This could be really bad for the Blender Boom. Flamethrower goes out, but the Lib GTK is nicely chem sprayed, and they're not going to worry about a darn thing.
Blender Boom did not get those shots into libgtk's balloon. That front balloon is very hard to hit on the Pyramidion, and it looks like libgtk is simply going to outmaneuver this goldfish and keep those gap mortar arcs flowing as they break the goldfish down. Dusk's Light getting focused by the Hades Artemis of the Solus Ortum. Continuous pressure put on them. It looks like the Dusk's Light cannot get a decent balloon break onto that Pyramidion as long as that pressure is happening.
No, look at that. The Artemis is going to disable the Carronade over and over again. Solus Ortum rising up. Can it keep going? libgtk. All right, so Blender Boom and the Dusk's Light both losing their armor at the same time, and they're getting ground down. Dusk's Light going down slower than the Blender Boom, I think. All it's going to take is one more break in the libgtk. Do they have mortar arcs? They do not. Blender Boom has managed to pop the balloon to the libgtk, and it's going to put itself in a decent position. However, Dusk's Light definitely in a bad position. Artemis raining down, disabling the guns over and over again.
Solus Ortum has quite happily kept arcs on the Dusk's Light. A majority of this second engagement, or the second part of this engagement, rather. Solus Ortum, though, forced
Blender Boom. Blender Boom almost went down. It was right in the arc of the gap mortar, and is forced to rise up, burn a little bit of hydrogen. Now the libgtk is backed up enough. Gatling going down. Hull's gone. 2-0 in favor of the Riders.
That was more of what I was expecting from this. Honestly, the Goldfish is, I consider it to be a sturdy ship, all things considered.
Goldfish is generally considered tankier than the Pyramidion because though it has less armor, it is significantly more permahull. Dusk's Light not looking great. The Hades has been landing in the balloon way too much. They've been neglecting it, and now it's back up. But 2 engines are on fire, balloons on fire, and the libgtk looking to come around and finish this off. Blender Boom spawns in close. This could be a meat grind. It's coming in, but it can't save its ally.
This is not what the Muse team wanted to do here. You do not want to fall into a meat grind. That is a major no-no, in my opinion, in the competitive community. Yeah. At a certain point, you have to say, all right, cut your losses. We need a different engagement. Because statistically, at least from what I've been able to do research-wise during the Hephaestus challenge, you cannot use a meat grind scenario to turn around a situation. An engagement is going to continue in the direction that it began in a vast majority of the time. Turnarounds don't often happen.
Yeah, so not usually.
To continue pushing into a meat grind and keep losing ships and points to another team, it's giving away a game. You can't do it. It's not something that functions.
Yep, Solus Ortum using that drogue shoot to great effectiveness to keep itself from falling too hard. libgtk going to use it as well, dropping down on the Blender Boom mortars. Only a couple landing. The Blender Boom down at about 2/3 hull. libgtk going to come in for the ram. Hits the balloon, going to hurt the vertical mobility of that Goldfish a lot, and it'll allow it to keep the mortar arcs just fine. Armor comes back up, but only barely.
This is a very tough situation for the Muse team. They fell into that meat grind scenario. Blender Boom is going to go down here very shortly.
Boom.
Dusk's Light, nothing he can do about it. He's getting hammered by the Solus Ortum. Hillerton not letting him up, not one bit. libgtk moving into the Dusk's Light now. This is going to be a 5-0 for the Riders.
Yeah, looks like it. Dusk's Light is moving forward. libgtk using drogue shoot. Can it keep the mortar arcs? One more? Oh, not quite.
Not quite there. Not quite there. Blender Boom spawns back in. Actually, very close once again to the engagement. Just above it, in fact. Solus Ortum helping to move in and finish the job. Mine hit there at the end, but it was all for nothing. 5-0 for the Riders. A convincing win against a build I don't think that was a very good choice of builds for the Muse team.
Nope, and I think that they made way too many mistakes. It's like they got the better of these Pyramidions, they got in better positions, and then they gave them up. They just made too many mistakes.
I agree, absolutely. There were positioning issues. There were engagement issues. We did have a meat grind that happened. It's a very tough situation.